Okay.
Seriously, I got a call from our people in the
Welcome to another edition of Inside Guyana. Today, our cameraman is Mr. Ravi and our producer, Prakash, and we want to take this opportunity to welcome to our studio our guests, our very prominent personality in our Guyanese community here in New York City, a man who has been involved in many kinds of activities, and I've seen him all around. I've been learning a lot from him also because he's such a knowledgeable personality, and he's always pleasant to share his ideas and views on all kinds of matters. So please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming to our studio and to our program Inside Guyana, Mr. Charlie Chuck Mohan, who is the member of the Guyanese American Workers United, which was founded in 1993, and he holds many other positions which we're going to discuss during the interview. So, Mr. Chuck Mohan, once again, welcome to the program Inside Guyana. Sir, it's nice having you in our studio.
Thanks for having me once again.
Sir, the first question we'd like to put to our viewers is, associated with an introduction. And we would like you personally to introduce yourself to our ITV viewers. A little bit about your background and where you were born, probably, your parentage, and so just briefly.
Well, I have been involved in being an activist, political labor activist, a human rights activist in New York for over 35 to 40 years. And I'm not limited to being active in the Guyanese community because New York City is my community. So anything that affects New York City in a progressive way, I get involved. I must add that presently I'm part of the organizing team for the May Day rally next Friday that begins at Union Square at 3 o'clock. It's a rally, as you know, May Day is celebrated all over the world except for the United States. And May Day is not some foreign influence. May Day was actually born in the United States, and we don't celebrate it. Instead, we have this fake workers' holiday, Labor Day. And so we are taking back the real workers' holiday, and we are fighting for immigrant and workers' rights. And so I'm involved in that presently, and I'm proud of those achievements because, as you know, immigration is a big question in the United States. And being an immigrant, I want to see all immigrants have the rights because they contribute billions of dollars to this economy, and they should be given the right that they deserve, and that's being all undocumented immigrants should be automatically become documented immigrants in this country with no strings attached, no conditions. They should become documented. So I'm proud of that part that I'm involved with right now.
So that's a brief introduction
Yes.
into Mr. Chuck Mohan, our guest today on the program Inside Guyana. Now, Mr. Chuck Mohan, you know Guyana is having elections on the 11th of May, 2015, this year, 15 days from now. Would you be able to shed some light on that, since you've been involved not only in the American activities but also in the Guyanese activities? You've been involved in the diaspora activities. I've seen you at many of the events that they have had here, and I'm sure that you would have some views to express here in the Guyana elections.
Well, let me first say this. Even in Guyanese within the New York area are divided, I guess based on race lines, political affiliation. I remember last year when Mr. Granger, David Granger, was invited to speak at a meeting in Richmond Hill. Many people were opposed to it, saying that this is not his supporters here. And I said to them quite clearly, he's a Guyanese politician, or any Guyanese politician can go to any Guyanese community within New York or the United States. We should listen to everyone's views. We can't remain in the past forever. New ideas come to the forefront, and we have to analyze them if we are interested in moving Guyana forward. And so I attended the meeting he had here, and I will attend every politician who comes to New York from Guyana. I will attend their meetings, whether I support them or I don't support them, but I will always be respectful to them and to listen to what they have to say.
That's a very good position, and I will support that also. Nothing is wrong in listening to people, and I see here that you're also an adjunct lecturer in the City University of New York.
Yes.
System. So we are very fortunate to have you here. I'm sorry to not mention that at the beginning.
That's okay.
So, Mr. Chuck Mohan, you've listened to the politicians, you've read about their programs and so on that they're putting forward to attract voters. Would you be able to shed some light on your views on that? Did you get time to analyze any of that?
Well, there's no need for me to analyze anything, because we have seen from after Mrs. Janet Jagan handed the reins to Barra Jack Dio, we have seen the country go downwards. Sad to say, because I was a staunch supporter of the PPP. And I must tell you now that when people ask me, do you still support the PPP? I tell them very clear, I'm a Jaganite. I make no qualms and no apologies about that. I'm a Jaganite. I do not like what I have witnessed over that period of time, from around 1998, I think it was, to present. I think Guyana and the Guyanese people deserve better than what they have right now. Our young children has nothing to look forward to in the present state in Guyana. Nothing whatsoever to look forward to. And as a result, people are moving to other parts of the world, Caribbean, wherever they can get accepted. The United States, Canada, Britain. St. Lucia, for example, 10,000 Guyanese live there. They even go over to Venezuela, where we have problems, boundary problems with Venezuela. So they're migrating, and that's bad. And it's bad because some of the brightest, some of the potential are leaving our country. What do we have now? We have, and education is important to move any country forward. And if we're having a brain drain, what happens to the country?
Mr. Chuck Mohan, you have been a role model here for immigrants in the United States, and many look forward to your leadership. And I know how important it is to have role models. Would you say that our current leaders in Guyana are good role models for the youths? Is that a factor that is actually influencing the crime situation and the degradation of the morality of our society in Guyana?
Let me put it this way. When we have representatives of the government insulting and abusing women, and no one is accusing them, it's on videotape. It's right there for the world to see. How could we tolerate such things?
Can you elaborate a little bit for our viewers who may not be aware of those incidents?
Well, Dr. Ram Saran recently,
as a Minister of Health,
recently attacked a reporter who wanted to ask him some questions. Now, I don't know what happened before the film was rolling, but that's irrelevant. As a minister of the government, you have to have patience with the people. And as a doctor, you have to have patience with your patients. But nevertheless, we should not have those type of outbursts from any minister. It shows the lack of respect for the Guyanese people. Not only for women, for the Guyanese people, period. he should have been fired immediately. If I were the president, I would fire him immediately. There's no room for that from any politician in Guyana, whether in the opposition, whether in government, or as a matter of fact, from anyone. Women need to be respected. And as you know, historically, the kind of society we have in Guyana, male chauvinist society. And beating your wife is something that happens on a daily basis. From every single ethnicity in Guyana, it happens.
Used to happen.
Well, it still continues to happen today. And I might add, it happens here in New York City. They bring the same bad habits over here. I'm saying that to really make the point, it is not acceptable by anyone. And it shouldn't be a woman's problem. It's a problem for everyone, including men. We should never stand and see this happen to anyone.
There was another incident before this one with the Attorney General over the phone threatening media workers. I know you've been very instrumental here in New York City to represent the rights of workers and immigrants a lot. How would you have represented those media workers who have been receiving threats from like top government officials?
Well, first of all, it's totally unacceptable from anyone, but more so a minister in the government. All right? He should have been fired also. Zero tolerance for this type of behavior. But what it says it's only a matter of time before all of them explode into this way. Even the president, maybe in the future, gets angry at someone, will explode in the same way that his ministers are exploding.
I know he repeated something about slapping or something. I didn't get it exactly the way it was.
Yeah, Dr. Ramsrand talked about slapping the woman and even getting...
the president, somewhere he went up the interior, he referred to the former president slapping some person.
No, I think he was referring to, in a recent meeting, he referred to Nagamutu, the prime ministerial candidate.
No, he said he was in the interior, and Donna Ramatar said that if Jagde was here, he would have slapped you.
Yes, I remember that now. And subsequently, the teacher, it happened to have been a teacher, they transferred the teacher to another school as a result of that incident. Now, it's not only is it childish, it's ridiculous to the people who represent us to be acting this way. It tells you, number one, there's no leadership, all right, in the country.
But we have leaders.
Well,
we have leadership.
Well, we may have somebody called a leader, but leading and having leadership qualities are different.
Maybe he's leading in the wrong direction.
A president doesn't necessarily have to be a leader. When we speak of leaders, we speak of people like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Ho Chi Minh, Chedi Jagan. Gandhi was not a president or a prime minister, but he was a leader. Many presidents doesn't have the ability to bring people closer to them. It's a popularity contest. Being a leader is more than being a popularity in a popularity contest, as far as I'm concerned. But nevertheless, let's go back to our leaders in the government. The founders of the PPP laid the foundation for Guyana. Dr. Chedi Jagan, Janet Jagan, and others who formed the PPP. Subsequently, some of them left, but Dr. Jagan was there. If they didn't learn anything from Dr. Jagan, it's a shame.
That in order to learn, you have to have the ability to learn.
Well, they were around him long enough to have learned, even if they may not have had a college education, a high school education. The mere fact of being there on a day-to-day basis with them, you have to learn something. It is obvious to me that in Guyana, and before I continue, let me give a parallel here. I give the parallel of the African National Congress and the PPP.
In South Africa.
Yes. The same thing that is happening with the PPP is the same thing that has been happening in the ANC after Mandela. Leaders are becoming rich, all right? With their meager salaries as public servants, how are they building these big mansions? In South Africa, we've got a Zuma having a house worth $13 to $15 million. In Guyana, I don't know how much it's cost, but people speculate that our former president has a mansion close to the ocean that's worth several million US dollars.
But there is a saying, you would know this, as a lecturer and as a common Guyanese also, you probably learned this from your early childhood period, like I did. You can't put cat to watch milk.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I believe that the two political parties, the one who was first after independence, the PNC, all right, they failed Guyana, and the PPP from Jack D.O., let me make it very clear, from the Jack D.O. period to now, has failed the Guyanese people. We see now that some people who have left the PPP as a result of being dejected in the way they were running things came together with others to form the Alliance for Change. Now they're collating under this coalition. You see, sometimes when we choose to vote, we have to look at introspective and retrospective ways of voting. We could vote based on retrospective. What did they do when they were in power? And then we could say, well, let's look at the new political party or parties. What will they do if they get into power? And we have to base our decision as to who to support based on that. If you can't see that anything was done good in the present government, and you don't want to see it to continue to bring our country more and more in deeper into a hole, then you have to make a decision to support this opposition, because it's only two parties basically running in the Guyanese election, like America, who has a chance of winning. So you have to make a choice in that situation, because there's no viable, at this moment, third parties running in the elections in Guyana.
Don't you think that there are more important things to look at when you're making a decision who to vote for? I want to emphasize things like principles, fundamental principles of decency, supersede everything else. You can't encourage a person to come into your home if you know that person is a thief. You wouldn't want to do that. You'll be very hesitant. So people who are associated with dishonesty, lies, those are fundamental human, universally accepted principles. When those fundamental principles are violated, then you're touching the hearts of people. Because all religions, all philosophies, all great people stand up for principles. So don't you think that would be something that should also be addressed?
When I say that the PPP has failed the people from Jack D.O. to now, it's inclusive. It's all inclusive. When we look at all the things you just mentioned, all right, those things were not considered when they were doing all the wrong things they were doing. They don't care about principle. They don't care about mixing with the correct people, so to speak. All right? The morals are gone. All right? The only thing there is greed. That's their main concern, greed. They're putting profits before people, so to speak. Profits for who? Profits for themselves. When we should be looking at the people first and foremost. Any government should be doing that. The welfare of the people. That's why you're elected. when you're elected as a government to run a country, one of the things, the foremost thing is looking after the welfare of all, not only those who vote for you, but all citizens of the country. The next thing you do is to make sure you have the ability to protect those people. None of that exists in Guyana. All right? It's been a shame, it's been a failure. People have to make a choice now. Do we want to see our country go deeper into the hole, as I said before? Or do we want to put an end and try to bring it back to the potential it has with proper leadership? Now, people will say, well, we don't know about these people who are running in the opposition grouping. Well, we do know them. Who don't know them don't want to know them.
Moses Nagamutu was always there.
Right.
He was this very strong supporter of the PPP. He was even a member of the executive committee of the PPP. He was always very, very, very close, almost like a brother to Chedi Jagan, going around from childhood days with him. So people can't say they don't know him.
They know the people. They know Camarade Ramjatan. They know a whole lot of people. They know their history. They know where they've been. They know where they're going. And so those people have to put those things together and decide which way who am I going to support? All right? We can't let things remain the same as is in Guyana today. It breaks my heart as a Guyanese.
You're actually saying then that there's need for change.
There is need for change. It could be changed in two ways. They could be changed in two ways. Because this is a tight race in Guyana right now, my belief. It's a very tight race. Each political party has to get on the ground and do what they're supposed to do. Not cursing people out, by the way, and calling them names.
But I understand from the media reports yesterday that a very prominent, or two prominent personalities who are very close friends of the prime ministerial candidate for the coalition, Mr. Moses Nagamutu, they were shot and they're in hospital. So it seems as though the violence has started.
First of all, I'm sorry, and I extend my sympathy to those two people who were shot. But I am not going to jump to a conclusion as to who shot them. I don't know. We don't have any evidence at this point. All right? And so we can't jump to conclusions. Because let's be real. Let's be honest about it. Historically in Guyana, during election times, which political party starts the violence? Let's be real. It's always been the PNC. Never accepting when they lose. We hope that's a change with Mr. Granger's leadership. But I'm saying again, let me go back. I'm not accusing, and if the PPP had anything to do with that, those people should be brought to justice. If they had anything to do with these two shootings. All right? This is close. This election is very close in my perspective. You can have change in two ways. Either we get the opposition in government, and if by chance the PPP comes back into government, they have to understand the people are tired. Are we going to continue the same way, or are we going to change our policies? All right? So change can happen in two ways. Many Guyanese I speak with, many former PPP supporters says there will be no change if they got back into government. All right? That's how people in the street are analyzing this. You know, we can go to all the theoreticians and they can analyze. The people who speaks the truth when it comes to these things are people in the street. They know politics sometimes more than some of the politicians because their ears is to the ground.
Very interesting, Mr. Chap Mohan. Now we're coming to the end of our interview, sir. You have the opportunity to tell our ITV viewers and advise the Guyanese listeners to this program, and they'll be seeing it on YouTube, they'll be seeing it on Facebook and Twitter also, so please, you have the opportunity now to advise them or tell them whatever you want to tell them.
Viewers, I will leave you with this. The famous American socialist trade unionist Eugene V. Debs said, "It's better to vote for what you want and don't get it than to vote for what you don't want and get it." I urge you to make a decision on May 11th. Let it be an educated decision, not a sentimental decision. And I hope, not only for me, but for all my brothers and sisters in Guyana, that the future would be a bright one for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chuck Mohan, for coming to our studio today. It was a really good event and good interview. I must say that I'm sure our viewers would have learned quite a lot from this. Well informed. Thank you once again for this opportunity to interview you in this program Inside Guyana.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. You've been watching Mr. Chuck Mohan here answering some questions on the current events in this program Inside Guyana. On behalf of our cameraman Ravi and our producer Prakash and the management of staff of ITV, I want to thank you very much. Until next time, this is yours truly, Dr. Rudy Jadoopat. Thank you.